My name is Nicole Wane. I'm an intuitive healer, energy worker, spiritual visionary, teacher. I channel a collective of consciousnesses of beings, including the Diamond Matrix, which is archangels. There's 7 archangels, and also beings who have transcended mainstream reality consciousness on the physical plane. So today's discussion is about intuitive development and what it takes to really transform and become an intuitive. So I have some questions for all of you. I'm curious, who here thinks that they are intuitive? Great. Okay, and who here knows that they are intuitive? Okay, great. So, there's a vibrational frequency difference there, which is really a leap of faith from going, oh gosh, I think I can do something, to I really know and own that I can do something, which is really a root chakra type thing, because root chakra is all about foundational belief systems when it comes to the expansion of consciousness. So I'm curious, who here believes that it's your divine right to be a multisensory being? Is it your divine right to be a multisensory being, an intuitive being? Yes, okay. And do you think that anyone is capable of going from not really intuitive at all to wildly intuitive? All right, good. Okay, well, that brings us to the why, the question of, well, why do you want to be intuitive? Because this is really about honing and consolidating the energy that helps with the creation cycle. Because today we're going to talk a lot about the transformation of consciousness, but it's the creation-destruction cycle. And this information came to me as a result of me going from really not intuitive at all to becoming wildly intuitive. I'm a fluent channel now. So I'm curious why everyone here wants to be, well, I can't go into everybody's reason, but does anybody know why they wish to be intuitive? To work in service. Okay, well, that's a great place to start, because what our message here is, and I can feel spirit talking through me now, is that we want you to understand that to become intuitive, you have to really be quite selfish at first, because you need to consolidate your energy to be able to take a leap of consciousness to get to a point where it's inspiring and exhilarating to be of service. And so the why is really, really, really important. And as I came here today, I was really encouraged to talk about my why by the beings that I channel. And so I'm just going to give you a little perspective on what it takes to really leap, because you really need to want something so strongly. And the reason why, to be able to focus that, is like focusing on the prize. There's the handout I gave you, it's called the cycle of reconnection. To get back to reconnection, we have to keep our eye on the prize, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. So why did I want to become an intuitive? I'm from the Midwest. Psychics, intuitives, they were kind of a fairy tale topic. It took coming out to Seattle, is where I just recently moved from, to learn about them. And not only that, I had to go through some real awful illness and such. But before that, the reason I was ill at such a young age was because, well, for a number of reasons, but mainly I grew up with in really tragic circumstances, had a very ill mentally father, alcoholic, drug addict, all of that. And when I was 19, he actually murdered my grandmother, my mom's mom. So, that kind of takes away your self-love, it really, messes your life up in a lot of ways, I guess. And in the years that followed, I became ill. And, I was very young, 23, I'm coming down with all this autoimmune illness rampant through my body, losing my ability to use my hands, my fine motor abilities. And so I'm going to doctors and psychiatrists and all these people, and nobody has a clue. Nobody has a clue how to help me. I'm being told ridiculous things. When I was sick with thyroid disease, a psychiatrist said, well, I think, I was thinking that you might be partially retarded. And I mean, and I had just been, the top of my class graduating from University of Illinois. I'm like, well, wow, that's an interesting observation. So this is what I was getting from these Western practitioners, and I think there's a beautiful place for Western practitioners. I love them, but I think we really need to incorporate the right brain and the left brain equally. And so I ended up in the office of a physical therapist who said, you know what, after hearing my story, she said, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you, but I think I know someone who can. Are you open to seeing a woo-woo practitioner? Like I said, I'm from the Midwest. I don't even know what a woo-woo person is, but I said, yes, sign me up. Get me there as soon as possible. And so I went to this woo-woo person. She was an energy intuitive, like what I do now. And it was the first time in years I felt hope return. It was like, finally, somebody can see me for what I really am, who I really am. And it was just such a breath of fresh air. And from that point out, I was like, sign me up, I'm going to learn. Meanwhile, I'm in acupuncture school, so learning about all the realms of energy medicine. And it took 9 more years for my transformation to start. But coming back to the why was, gosh, I really want to be able to meet people where they're at. I really want to help people to transform in powerful ways. I want people to know that there's options and there's a new way to look at things. I wanted to offer new perspective. And so my heart was so wanting that, but I really had to let go of being an intuitive. I went into a mentorship program, 2010, with my teacher. It was amazing, and I didn't know why I was there. I could feel the cranial-sacral rhythm, if anybody knows what cranial-sacral therapy is, but that was the extent. I couldn't, I was with 15 other people who were really much more advanced than me, and it was intimidating, but I was just really angry. Like, why am I here? Is my teacher a charlatan? Is this intuitive business really real? Like, what the heck? I've been following her so, faithfully for almost a decade. So about 8 months into this mentorship program, I was just so angry, and I was really in turmoil inside. I mean, no wonder, I have this terrible history. I struggled. I had a wonderful acupuncture practice that was going well, but still inside, I wasn't where I wanted to be. And that's where that why comes in. But what I understood from the struggle is I had to make a choice, and the choice was really prioritizing my happiness, because I looked in the mirror one day and said, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way out of this hell. And so it occurred to me, Abraham Hicks CDs, if anybody knows Abraham Hicks, go look him up on YouTube, great reference for leading edge, conscious creator type understanding. And by the end of that CD that I listened to, I knew that I needed to make a commitment to myself. I did make a commitment to myself, and that was to disengage from all perceived reality, negative people, everything, and indulge myself in what feels good, what feels good, what feels good. So I went on basically a 2-month rampage of appreciation, where all I did was I used my will to focus every single moment on what feels good, from the paint on the walls to your fingernails to, it doesn't matter what it is. And over the years I had been trained, my teacher had taught me about self-love, the importance of choice, that at any moment we can choose differently. And because of 10 years of delving into those teachings, I think it really allowed me it gave me enough momentum where I could dive into this appreciation so headstrong, so stubbornly. Being stubborn is a good thing, actually. And so it was to the point where I wake up in the middle of the night saying, oh my gosh, life is getting better and better and better for me. Life is full of opportunity. I love this place. Everything is just wonderful here. And I also had to learn how to bring the future to the moment, and know, well, what was my why? And it didn't even matter, the intuitive thing. I left that behind. I said that wasn't ever going to happen to me. And so I said, well, why? I want to be someone who's inspiring. I want to be someone who's going to make a difference. I want my life to be meaningful. I want it to be worthwhile, right? And so after this 2 months, things started to change. I was meditating all the time, like every day at this time. I was giving myself Epsom salt baths. I had learned about my past lifetimes recently by an amazing practitioner, Ainsley McLeod. And Sorry. Now I'm going to start shifting my energy because that's what I do. And so at the end of this 2-month period, my intuition started to open up. My third eye started to open up. I started to feel my chakras because I was meditating on each chakra, which, you know, just because it felt good. And so by the next year, that was August, September, October, November, December, by January I started feeling things in my clients, in my acupuncture clients, like that were from a neutral space, this static type feeling. And I knew it was intuition because it was nothing like I'd ever felt. And by February, I developed a cold sore on my face, and my teacher was Marie Manucherry out of Seattle. My teacher had always taught me to love these things. Whenever anything was, you know, going blatantly wrong, you know, love it. And that can be really infuriating. But also if you practice it enough, you know, you can get to a point of really being able to do that. And that is such an important place for your intuition, because you have to be able to think broad scale. You have to be able to shift your perspective to a place of neutrality. So I sat there and I brought all this divine energy into this cold sore, and I loved it, and I remembered all the times it's happened in the past and how amazing, you know, the changes that had happened within me about self-confidence, self-acceptance of myself, despite, you know, looking as I did or whatever. And I even appreciated the virus, because I love pathology, and viruses are really, they're quite clever, they're opportunistic, you know, I mean, that's what it takes. You have to leap into a different understanding of everything. And so something amazing happened at this time. It was like I dove into a portal of information where my third eye, my clairvoyance, there was a story there. It opened up, it gave me a story, and I could feel the emotions from my childhood from that story, and I finally got it. I understood what my what my teacher had been doing all this time. So of course I'm completely invigorated by all of this. I meditate more. I read the book Hands of Life by Julie Motz, who's a intuitive working with Dr. Oz in surgeries, organ transplant surgeries. And I already knew that every cell held consciousness, but now I really, really got it. And I went into meditation for hours, and my guides really want to emphasize, for hours at a time, sitting in each of my organs, sitting in the different body systems, sitting in the different anatomy of my physical body, and appreciating them, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it. And if I didn't love it so much, I would have a little conversation about that. Oh, we haven't always gotten along, but you do this and you do that and that. And some other things opened up in my meditations. My guide appeared to me. I started being taken to the Akashic Records. And then I was launched into an intimate training with my spirit guides, where we would go through the energy system, the chakras, the auric fields, the acupuncture points, the meridians, and the organs, the energetics of the organ system. And they trained me for months, for hours a day. I was so obsessed. I loved it so much. So intuition isn't only about a leap of consciousness moving into a new awareness about yourself and about humanity. It's also practice, 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 practice. Gotta practice. And thank goodness I had acupuncture clients who were so willing to indulge me, and I would get immediate feedback of, you know, it being accurate. And mind you, I'm a Capricorn sun and a Virgo rising. I don't have all that beautiful water energy in my chart, but I have a lot of fire. And so, you know, there's a benefit to all of it. I was trained very systematically. And for some reason that feels like it's important information to share. But anyway, so I looked back and said, how did this happen? How did I make this huge leap? And I started, here's the handout for the cycle of reconnection. I started looking at, well, what are the elements to what I did that really helped? And of course the positive focus on the present and the future seemed really important. That seemed to be the last piece of the puzzle for me to really shift, because I've been doing the nourishment and then integrity piece for a while. And the integrity piece is really important. I'm feeling the prompting to really talk about that, because the emotions were so important, to allow emotions without judgment. Because there's a lot of people here on the planet who are resisting their emotions because they think indulging in them or allowing them, expressing them, relates them to war and hostility and all that. but there's something called a conscious expression of emotion, which means you don't take it out on anybody else, and you learn how to beat pillows and push on things and scream at the top of your lungs to get the rage out. Because if you look at this cycle, reconnection happens when you let go, and a lot of the letting go has to do with the emotional release, which you can't get to without the action steps of the nurturance, the meditation, the exercise, the activities that are prioritizing you each and every day. Really, really, really important. So as I went through the list of the 3 elements, my guides brought forth the cycle of reconnection, which I had heard about, but in a completely different context. I was in acupuncture school in a clinic, and in a dark room on a paper towel, my one teacher, it wasn't in any of my curriculum, my one teacher, he showed it to me. And when they brought this forth years later, I recognized it and said, oh my gosh, okay, this is the cycle of reconnection. And the message Spirit really wants to get through to all of you is that, first of all, you're an eternal being. You're always going to get to reconnection. You're always going to get to where you want. So you could spend, 10 lifetimes doing, I like to give the example of in a bar, drinking your life away. And they say that's okay. It is okay, because the person needs to make a new choice to do something else. When you're an eternal being, you have plenty of time, but that's not very reassuring, because you're conscious creators and you want to get to where you want to go. And so what we bring forth is this knowledge of how to get there, because keeping your eye on the prize is really, really important. And it's in the letting go part that's really murky, because there's what I call filters of misperception that come up. I call them that because when I work in the energetic realm, it's like these filters, these films come up over people, and there's a distortion of reality. And so it's very clear you need to understand what is truth, what is actually reality, and what is fear-based conscious reality. And in the muck and the mire of things, when you're in those deep emotions, to still know that it's a universe of well-being. It's an unconditionally supportive and loving universe, that you have unconditionally loving and supportive guides that are surrounding you, even when you're in the muck and the mire of it. And so fear is like a film. It can't be felt to release it. You need to get into the nitty-gritty of it and release that to come back to reconnection. When I started to read my energy system, I just kept getting messages of being angry at God, angry at everything. And so as an experiment, I said, okay, I'm going to learn how to release that anger. And a lot of times you have to practice it, because people will say, I'm not angry. My teacher used to say, lay down on the floor and have a tantrum twice a week. And you go, okay, that's kind of weird. But I beat on pillows and I push on things and scream at the top of my lungs. And each time I would get through some really heavy, debilitating emotions, my intuition would expand. It opened. And so by the end of the year, 2011, I was fluently channeling spirit. Fluently, like I have access to them at any single moment of the day. They're always there. And whether you know it or not, they're always there. They really want you to know that. So as we move up through the chakra system, I have a handout there for the chakra system of different mantras, because the root chakra, I was trained in the first 10 chakras, and we'll see how much I can get through here today. I think I'm doing pretty good on time. So root chakra, for consciously creating your reality, is all about belief systems. There needs to be a breakdown, a release of these old debilitating belief systems and stepping into new belief systems. So do you know that you are worthy? Do you know that you're divine, eternal, being worthy of creating whatever you wish on this planet? Do you understand that you will step into a renewed consciousness and that life will be better for you? My teacher always used to say, if you become intuitive, your whole life is going to change. You lose people, but you gain, which is true, but you gain people who are more on your path, more like-minded, because you're stepping into a new idea of what integrity is, right? So first chakra, everything in your body is symbolic. I relate the bone structure to the symbology of the first chakra, because it's the structure of the belief systems. And as I look at all of the crowd, there's a nice yellow light of self-esteem that's appearing between your legs, the lower legs, which is a really good thing. Stepping into the clarity, the understanding that you're all worthy. You're all here. This is a group of like-minded conscious creators. We're all here to acclimate to the best in each of us. Isn't that refreshing? So second chakra, really pertinent to the conversation. Second chakra is juicy chakra. It's sensuality, sexuality. It's the energy of passion. It's where the kundalini energy comes alive. Traditionally, this is taught as education, one-on-one relationships, money, finances, creativity. The spark of creation happens in the second chakra, and Spirit wants you to know that they're saying, we want you to understand you need to be passionate, allow yourself passion in any subject, whatever it is, whether it's like bugs or, the fixtures on the ceiling or sex. Sex is a big one. We need to work out the manipulative tendencies of sexual experience. And that means, this goes for anything, coming into an aligned state and then acting. Spirit's really wanting to come through right now with that message. We want to be in an aligned state before we act. It's called a consolidation of energy, of your energy system. Because when you act from a place of fear-based consciousness, you scatter the energy. And when you act from a place of consolidated, aligned energy, then you are millions of times more productive and effective, and you reach people a lot more effectively. And so there are a lot of overgivers, they're saying, in the audience. A lot of overgiving going on around here. And, we're skipping to the fourth chakra, is all about, giving and receiving that balance. It's about compassion. It's about knowing when you are aligned to be able to gift. When you move into a higher state of consciousness in the heart chakra, which is predominantly universal love, you're no longer feeling sorry for people. That just goes away, and because you see the best in everybody. You see people as the light. You see them as capable. And you believe in them to no extent. And then, we'll go back to the second chakra back there. Slight interruption. When you engage in the kundalini energy and passion, the energy starts to move up the spine like the caduceus and hits you in the psychic entry points, which are on the back of your head. And as long as you're not doubting yourself or in fear, then you get clear sight. So really, really important for anyone who wants to be intuitive to feel really passionate about life, really passionate about something, and then go from there, because it will just open up to more and more things. So third chakra is self-love. It goes back to where our responsibilities lie. So the Seth materials, if you're familiar, Jane Roberts, the Seth materials, they talk a lot about the universe. Each one of you has your own individual universe, as I do. So however many people, there are 50 so universes in this room present. And each of you is the main character of your universe. And how powerful is that? You're a really divine, eternal creator, which is also fifth chakra, integrity, but we're still in the third chakra, responsibilities, because people are, like we said, over-gifting, and we really want you to understand that daily acts of nurturance, prioritizing yourself, one of those three elements of healing, is really important. Every day, you have to do something for yourself. Every single day, prioritize meditation, especially if you want to be intuitive. Meditation. Spirit just says meditation over and over and over again. You got to meditate, because you got to get to a place of non-resistance, because being an intuitive person is about observation and neutrality, watching from that place and not from any fear-based or judgmental place. So daily acts of nourishment include exercise, feeding yourself right. Although through my transformation, I ate like crap. So everybody's different, and that's what we really want you to understand, is your emotional guidance system will help you to understand. What's your emotional guidance system? It's, does this feel good? Does this not feel good? Does this feel good? Does this not feel good? It's not always so clear, so maybe the action you take is a place of relief. But it's really important to know that, a lot of people, Everybody has a new perspective. I am coming forth with my perspective today of how this happens, and for each of you, it will be slightly different to vastly different. What my beings, what we bring forth, what I channel and what we bring forth, the teachings, is to guide you back to your knowingness first and foremost, and then give you that ability, and then let you go wild, do whatever you want to do, because then we trust in what we've taught, and we trust that you can trust in yourself to, continue on your path however that looks. So past the 4th chakra, back in the 5th chakra, integrity is a great piece. What does integrity mean? To us, it means you're eternal, divine creators of your reality, which the word creation is an interesting thing because, well, it works on a vibrational level, and to allow the gifts into your reality, you have to step into that positive energy, that positive joy. Integrity is also the emotional allowance. I make reference to the 5th layer of the field a lot regarding that, because the 5th layer of the field is about understanding your intuitive guidance system, your emotional guidance system, and following the energetic prompts. And you can become wildly intuitive in your, sight, hearing, all that, but the most important thing is to trust. Self-trust is a hallmark of being a good intuitive, or great, amazing intuitive. It's a hallmark of being able to live a life to your utmost potential, which is about 10th chakra. So let's see, 6th chakra is, of course, it's the multisensory abilities, but self-trust is more of a gut instinct, foundational knowing of your safety. 6th chakra, understanding morality, ethics. People get really hung up here, right? But what we want to say is that what's going on the other side of the world is really none of your business. What's going on in your life is really none of my business, right? And that's hard for people to swallow, but the 6th layer of the field is we are all one. And how do you come into oneness unless everybody's doing the perfect action that they need to take to get to where they want to go? Like someone spending 10 lifetimes in a bar, it's none of your business, it's up to them. They have their own universe. And when they decide to choose, when they're sick of their life as it is, then they'll step into something else. They'll have their why, right? So understanding is what results as your conscious evolution expands. 7th chakra is all about unconditional love, life purpose as well, but being unconditionally loved by Source and the beings around you. You're surrounded by these amazing, benevolent, good, true, and beautiful beings. I had a teacher who never said anything negative or paranormal or anything about intuition, and I watched her in action in front of classes for years. And it's really important. And so I had no doubt that the guides around me were loving, good, true, and beautiful, benevolent. And anytime you think otherwise, there's a filter of misperception that comes up. And that's what my teaching is, and that's what I'm here to teach people as well. So they're saying allowing us in is our greatest desire, because to co-create with you on the physical plane is where it's at in the universe. There's nothing that brings us to higher levels than to be consciously creating with like-minded individuals such as yourselves in the most amazing ways. And intuitive development is just a natural progression into a higher state of consciousness. 8th chakra is about, well, in this case, for conscious creators, it's about multisensory abilities coming to fruition. When I look in the 8th chakras of my clients, who are, of course, all leading edge creators, like attracts like, there's an energy of transformation in there. And I'm just wowed every time I look. I go, there it is again, there it is again. It's because everybody who's attracted to my work is really interested in becoming an intuitive individual to a greater extent. And as we said, it's just the natural progression of, evolution on the planet. In general, the 8th chakra is all about all the skills and talents you've honed through all of your lifetimes. So 9th chakra is about past lifetimes. So as you heal your past lifetimes, going back to here, the chart, letting go of really intense trauma, which past lifetimes help us to become aware of. Why are we so angry? Why do we have so much rage? It doesn't seem like the trigger really fits my emotional response, right? And so as we come into healing that, it's like your energy consolidates and you bring back gifts and talents that you had from those past lifetimes. I mean, how cool is that? That's how you really know things have changed. Like I ate the same breakfast every single morning for 30 years. And then I started going in this transformation, and now I can go hours without eating, or I make different choices. There's something profound that happens, or you have a new gift that comes back to you, like intuitiveness, or the ability to public speak, or who knows what it is, but it's really, really cool. So the 10th chakra is about life purpose. Of conscious creators. It's like really coming to a whole new level of being able to affect the planet through going through the chakras and learning all these things and moving into a multi-dimensional reality that you're comfortable in. So I'm curious if anybody has any questions for me. It is a lot of information, and I went through it a lot quicker than I expected. Yes?
When you were talking about the 5th and 6th chakras, you reached to the side of yourself and you talked about it as being a level. Are you seeing the chakra energies going out to the edge of the person's aura as well as internal or column?
No, I was referring to the 5th layer of the field. So if we go through the chakra system, there's a corresponding chakra and auric field. So there's the first chakra, and then the first layer of the field is called the etheric template. It's about 1.5 inches, 2 inches away from your physical body, and that's about primarily being in the present moment, getting into the sensuality of your surroundings. Like if you can really get into the textures of your clothes. In meditation, I instruct people to like be on the grassy plain or wherever is suiting for you, and really get into the sensuality of the surroundings. If it's grass, the blades of grass, the textures of grass. If you're sitting on the water, what does the water smell like? What does it feel like? Really getting into the moment is where it's at. After I went through this incredible transformation, opened up so much, I had to spend like a year or two in my first and second chakras, shifting belief systems, shifting old, trauma, all that stuff, and coming deeper and deeper into the moment, because you need to be able to hold more love, more lightness of energy. And so it's not just about going up, one chakra at a time. It's about going back down and having to do it all over again, or however that works out. Any other questions? Oh, well, I can go into more of the fields if you guys are interested. Yes?
What do you mean by fields?
The auric fields. Auric fields, yeah.
That's what I thought about, but I was trying to make sure.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying.
You said that when you first were taking this journey, there was a practitioner. I couldn't understand what you said, woo-woo or woo-woo or...
Woo-woo? It's just a term for, like W-U-W-U, woo-woo. Like wacky, unusual, like a psychic. Well, that's what that person actually said to me. I'd never heard the term. Yeah, well, I'm not... I want to make something clear. I'm a Capricorn sun. I'm very, practically oriented in the realm of energy medicine and intuitive development. I do teach people the foundational laws of the universe, foundational belief systems, because to me it's a process. It's, and some people are born into intuition, some people undergo near-death experiences and become intuitive, and for me, I haven't really heard of anybody else going through this process, right? And so I think it's really important to have a stepwise procedure, so to speak, although nothing is completely linear. But so in my readings, I will, whatever the person's intention is of coming to see me, I will say, what we help you to understand is how to get there through the cycle of transformation. Do you need to spend, where do you need to focus? Well, maybe you need to really nourish yourself on a daily basis, or, allow your emotions, or whatever it is. So any other questions before I move on through the auric fields? So the second layer of the field is the emotional allowance. Goes hand in hand with the second chakra. And they're saying, my guides are saying, we'll stop there, because emotions are really, the whole psychology about it. People are really scared about emotions. And to the core, you're an emotional being. You're a vibrational being. Every single word you speak has a frequency it resonates with a certain emotion. And for us to need specialists like psychologists, yes, I'm going to say it, out there to tell us how to feel or what about emotions, to me is insane. We should be learning this from when we're little, that we are emotional beings and what your emotional guidance system is. And so that second layer of the field, I mean, it is the first 3 chakras and fields are, I mean, they're very primal based, right? So it's just about survival, to be able to allow your emotions and to feel your emotions and to know when also that's enough, and shift your consciousness to what feels good. Because I know I emphasize that subject, but at any time you're able to move into a different subject of attention that feels good and that's more lighthearted and easy, that's really where you want to be at. And so that's what I was talking about with the 5th layer of the field, is knowing how to flow. Do I need to really get in the nitty-gritty of it today, or can I focus on something else? Anytime you can focus on something else, do it. But if you can't shift and uplift yourself, then there's the nitty-gritty crap that needs to be taken care of. The 3rd layer of the field is the mental plane, which I find absolutely fascinating. 3rd chakra, you're nourishing yourself, loving yourself, and as you do that, I'm not kidding, you will vomit up old belief systems. So you might think you're ill, but I mean, through my process, I had to vomit quite a few times because you're coming into a new frequency here. Chronic disease is different, right? But still, when it's something new and you're moving to a higher place, you can have symptoms in your body. And so you love yourself, you reject the old belief systems, literally. And I take this from my years as acupuncture, the rebellious chi, you know, it's rebellious chi, it's rebelling against what you believe. And then you come into a new idea of who you are in the world, which is the back of the 3rd chakra. And then consequently, the 3rd layer of the field, the mental plane, you come into greater ease of consciousness. It's a really nice thing. And autoimmune disease is really there. There's so much self-attack going on in our culture and in the world. And, you know, it's like we need to understand gentleness is really the key, to love ourselves. And then the 4th layer of the field is bringing your heart's desires into the outside world. Heart of Heart's desires are really broken, I'm hearing in this crowd, to some great extent. And so to be able to hone in on exactly what those Heart of Heart's desires are, whether they're a family of your creation or, you know, changing the world. I feel like I'm on, you know, going to the moon. Whatever it is, there's, people have let go of their excellence of vibration and let it become mediocre and are settling. Right? And we want you to thrive in these physical bodies while you're here on this planet. It's such a brief time from the eternal perspective, and to really dream big and allow yourself to move into understanding what those are and allow them into your experience is really something Spirit wants to get across to you today. We already talked about the 5th layer of the field. 6th layer of the field is we are all one, the mantra. 7th layer of the field is about individuation. I see it as this beautiful golden mesh netting. As you move into a higher consciousness, you take a leap of faith of who you are, who you can be, and you trust in it, then you bring forth a way of whatever you're doing in a very unique fashion. Like I relate that to becoming psychic this way, becoming intuitive. I didn't just wake up with it, I had to work for it, and because of the process I went through, it created my whole framework of how intuition works with me and my clients and how I use it with my clients. So love the 7th layer of the field. It's very invigorating to me. And then the other auric outside layers of the field, 8th, 9th, and 10th, as far as I know right now, that's been the knowledge gifted to me, is that it's about, you know, bringing all your talents into the outside world and understanding how you relate to because of your past lifetimes in the outside world and being able to bring your life potential to the outside world. So, anybody have any more questions for me?
Once you have completed this cycle of reconnection, if you start to falter in any of these things, do you lose your connection?
Well, it's a nice framework of reference, but nothing is completely linear. So there are cycles happening within cycles within cycles. Once you've hit reconnection on some level, you're there. You cannot go backwards. You can't go backwards by any means. But there might be another facet because we're really complex. you've lived lifetimes on this planet, and they're saying you in particular, many, many, I mean, they're saying like thousands of lifetimes. Yeah, does that, well, and so you create a very complex psychological framework for yourself. And so, yeah, that seems like a lot. Well, and they're saying, well, we're curious why we said so much. I've never heard them saying anybody has had so many past lifetimes, but they're saying, well, you're an eternal being. And so, okay, so when they say that, I go, okay, so you are really getting it. You're really getting the vastness of your being, and they're just wanting to take it and open the whole crowd up to a whole new level of, you know, what eternity means. There's this book called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers by Annie Kagan, which is great on that level.
When you're hearing your spirits and spirit guides and whatnot, and I can tell they're telling you stuff to include, and I mean, is it a 24/7 thing, or is there times, I mean,
Yes.
but sometimes do you want to just have quietness where, I mean, if you're constantly being told things, which is great most of the time, but what if, is that when you meditate, or?
Well,
I mean,
I can tell them to, they're using the word shut up. I can tell them to be quiet and ignore them, but when you open up into these intuitive realms, yeah, you're going to have some serious spiritual tests,
even when you're having
boundaries.
with this puzzle, you're like, I don't really want everybody here, you know?
Well, yeah,
Times
yeah,
where you-
absolutely. I say that, but
Do you have boundaries where, you know, right now, guys, I'm just,
absolutely, but it took a process where I had to really lay down the law and demand it. There was a 3-week opening where I really had to create boundaries. So anywhere your boundaries are lacking, you'll know once you open up more on an intuitive level.
like, kind of picture it like, kind of like a psychic thing where, people can see, past loved ones that have passed and stuff, and you have to set the boundaries because they're always wanting to say or include stuff, you know, like, because they're there to help and want to keep going.
Well, as I opened up, I told too many things to too many people, my friends included, and what I really had to learn was that I had to focus on people, and so I really made it into, if I'm going to be intuitive, it's going to be in a sacred space. If I'm having a conversation about intuition and information comes through, I'll ask people's permission. But for the most part, I don't want to know about anybody else because it's none of my business, right? And so you kind of consolidate your energy even more.
Two edges, two sides of a coin, where healing or privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you very much. That is time. I really enjoyed this talk and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.